Yeah, you did. Hi.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Today we actually have a really cool topic, or our guest speaker, Tomás Prowers. So he came out this year for Phoenix Pagan Pride. Yesterday was our event. So we had, when you hear us talking about how busy we are with stuff, that was it. If you go to our Facebook page on Totem Broom, we'll have some pictures posted from yesterday's event. But this was our guest speaker, Tomás.
Hello. We're here in my hotel room, as you can see from the background. My clip-on tie hastily put on. It's a little crooked, so forgive that. But no, it's my first time in Phoenix right now, and it's really exciting to be here. My first time meeting these two. So it's a good day. It's good things happening.
Yeah. So what would you like most? What was the most surprising thing about yesterday's event?
The most surprising thing about Phoenix Pagan Pride Day 2016 was definitely, it was a good sense of community, because I'd only been to one pagan event, and it was in Los Angeles, and it was more geared towards a pure vendor selling event. And when that happened, it was people coming, they knew what they came for, they wanted these specific items, and they found it, they exchanged money, and they were out the door. Here, it was more of a lot of people to gather, and people were talking with each other. And even when they were buying stuff from different vendors, it was exciting because they talked about different things, asked questions that were beyond, how does this work? What is this? Really trying to get to know people, or at least something about their tradition of the craft. And that was really exciting, at least for me.
So, at other events, I'm not sure if you've seen rituals there, but how was it seeing public rituals here in Phoenix for Phoenix Pagan Pride Day?
The truth is, that was my very first public ritual that I saw. And I know I've been to Pantheon, I've been to these other ritualistic things, but my schedule's always been so busy that I'm either teaching my workshop, or I'm running back to my hotel to get my supplies, or to do different things. I've never actually sat and watched a workshop before. And this is my first ceremony that I saw. I was sitting in my little booth, a little ways back in the field. And it was really neat. You had all the 4 directions being called, and everyone was dressed up in their robes. It was really nice. It was very theatrical, but in a good way. I loved it.
Cool. So you taught a class yesterday on Muerte. How did that go?
It went really well. It was a lot more free-form than usual, because I usually have like a PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint slides kind of help me remind me like where I'm at and what I'm speaking. But the people there were really nice, because again, everyone was really cool, really wanted to get to know each other. And so they were totally okay with me like pausing to think for a second and going off on different tangents. And it was a large enough group where, you could talk about a lot of things and people can give a lot of opinions, but it was small enough where people didn't feel intimidated to like ask questions. So there were a lot of back and forth questions. And surprisingly, the biggest questions actually had nothing to do with La Santa Muerte.
Like what?
That's what brought people to the little workshop. They're all curious, what is this? I've heard about this, I've kind of seen this on TV, I want to know more. And we started talking about, the mysteries of death, the philosophies of death, the magic of death, that people got really into their own mortality and their own death. And I worked previously as a mortician, so everyone wanted to know, well, I want to be buried as a tree. How does that work? I see these new eco-bins happening. Should I have directive actions filed now for my legal stuff? Yeah. Can I just tell my relatives what I'm going to do? And it started to a lot of funerary planning and questions about, do I need to have these papers? Yeah. Do I need to do this? So it was good, and I'm totally okay with it. And we just kind of flowed into La Santa Muerte, into mortuary funeral talk, into La Santa Muerte, and it all blended nice, and everyone seemed to like it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of it, and that's something that's not really common or that you see at pagan events, which is probably something we're going to do. Earlier this year, we had somebody approach us wanting to talk about funerary rites and all of that last, final detailed stuff, but we never really got in touch with them again. But now I got to track them down for next year.
Yeah.
So, what has your work with La Santísima been like? With writing the book and everything.
It's been exciting. It's been very different stages of things, because when I first started writing it, because the original story behind that book was the fact that I originally pitched a fiction book to Llewellyn, because I really wanted to write fiction and write stories. And I really got into La Santa Muerte and her mystery school, and I thought, oh, this is perfect, you know, as a kind of a catch, a hook. So I wrote La Santa Muerte and some magic into the story, and it just didn't work because I got, you know, the usual standard rejection letter from Llewellyn saying, hey, we don't want your book because we don't publish this kind of stuff, but we really like the Santa Muerte. We've actually been looking for someone to write about La Santa Muerte for a long time, but no one has approached us, and we are not too sure to whom we should go to. Can you do this in a nonfiction form? And I thought, yeah, I can do it in nonfiction form, you know, just excited to get some positive feedback. And so I really started studying, really started looking into it, because if this is going to be the La Santa Muerte book, it's not so much an organized religion, so you have different fragments. It's like writing a book of like, what is paganism? And you have all these different tribes of paganism. You have all these different groups of La Santa Muerte, and they have their very strong-held beliefs of her colors. Does she have only 3 colors? Does she have only 7 colors? Is it infinite colors? Does she go by these names? Is she an Aztec goddess reincarnated in this form? Is she death itself? Is she a syncretic goddess? Everyone has their views of it. And I suddenly had to write the book in English about that. And it being one of the first books about it, it was going to be heavily judged. So I got really scared in writing it, because I thought, oh no, what if I write the right thing? I mean, the wrong thing. Then this group is going to come at me, this group is going to come at me. And so it was a lot of meditations with La Santa Muerte, and it was just write it all, distill it, and try to just show every different point of view, because it's not an organized religion, and this is not the end-all book of La Santa Muerte. It's very introductory for everyone. Most people who are not familiar with her.
Yeah. I'm like, don't look at me.
No, you know, just sharing my views equally.
Yeah, I've had least experience in working with her. So the only time she's come up is when I've done ceremonies and people have made promises to her and they didn't keep them.
Which is really bad.
Yeah.
It's
So
really
work
bad.
with her, keep your promises, because I've done like shamanic ceremonies and I go into the spirit world at someone's house and she's standing there. I'm just like, oh, it's you. Hey, what's up? You know, that sort of thing. So, but I've noticed that once the offerings are made or the promises that were made are kept, everything calms down for the person, and it's just like, okay, you finally paid me, we're cool, but you're kind of on my crap list right now. So, but that's just what I've seen with people who haven't paid, you know, give due offerings and everything like that. But with any deity, I think you can get like that.
Yeah, because I also know that whenever we brought the shrine originally into the house, we put her in a big walk-in closet that we have. So it's kind of funny whenever we first got together and she was there, because he would wake up in the middle of the night and see like her figure standing in the doorway of where the closet was.
Yeah, I roll over, I look over the door, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Like,
we're doing this now apparently. So.
No, and just working with her and all those different aspects of her, because I worked with her as, you know, the Aztec deity, as the syncretic goddess, as death itself. And what I realized is that when you approach her in these different ways, if you define them very strictly, different ways, you get kind of a different response, or at least I did. Because it's like going up to a person. If you have a preconceived notion of who they are, you kind of approach them in that way, and then they kind of play off of you and they react in that way. You know, if you treat someone like, hey, friend, you know, it's a friendly atmosphere, everything's more calmed down, and they'll probably react that way. As opposed to going at someone you're unsure and you're kind of uncomfortable, like, hey.
I'm like, hey.
Hey, yeah, they kind of feel that uncomfortableness, or like, if you look at someone as like this idol, it's like, hi, you know,
It's like, hey.
and then you realize you're the idol, so you're like, oh, hello. You know, so going at her in all these different aspects, you can see where people's mind frames are at in worshiping with her and how they develop all these different relationships with her. So that was the biggest like growing experience I had with writing the book and communicating with her.
Out of curiosity, because I noticed a different approach whenever people approach her within a more Catholic state, such as seeing her as a saint as opposed to seeing her as the Aztec goddess, where with going at it from a Catholic point of view, I noticed sometimes making connections a little bit easier for people, because going at it from the Aztec point of view, it's a little bit more harsh, a little bit more full on, nothing really holding back.
It's very harsh, it's very full on. Especially because, like in a Catholic aspect of it, if you are Catholic, and many people say they are Catholic who do worship La Santa Muerte and are devoted to her, it's the experience of God is still first. God All Father is still number one. So no matter what you do with La Santa Muerte, it's always kind of the secondary role. So she's not coming at you with the full force because she's kind of like number two. Whenever you ask petitions of her in a very Catholic setting, it's please, La Santísima Muerte, grant me this lover or grant me this windfall of cash, whatever your petition is, grant it for me. I ask you in the name of God our Father and His only Son Jesus Christ. So it's always an intercession kind of way of looking at her, which kind of does soften her in the Catholic sense because it's kind of like having two parents and you're kind of like dad's kind of more strict. So you're like, hey mom,
hey, help me out.
Help me out. Can you tell dad to like help me out with this? Like convince him. So it's going towards that more gentler, feminine aspect. And she's kind of, in very many ways, replaces Our Lady of Guadalupe, just a more kind of badass version of her.
Yeah.
And so, many people go to Our Virgin that same way. They see her as like a softer, more relatable aspect of the divine. Because the divine is this, even if it's God or Jesus, it's this intangible thing
like,
that us mortals, But Mary was human, but yet she's related to the divine. So she understands us.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of same way.
It's kind of like a help a homie out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very much. Very much.
The way my ex-grandmother-in-law described it was, if you ever need anything, pray to the Virgin. If you want forgiveness, pray to Jesus. But if you want anything done, pray to the Virgin. That's how she would say it all the time. So I'm like, okay, I'm not Catholic, but okay.
What's your opinion on people mixing saints when working with her? I know this is a really big hot one.
It's very hot topic because at the end of the day, people are going to do what people are going to do.
Yeah.
No matter what's said on here, it's like, well, I know they said it, but, I'm going to try it because I know better. So I would suggest not doing it.
Yeah.
La Santa Muerte is very territorial. And if you're going to death itself, which is a very powerful energy, regardless of La Santa Muerte, going to the energies of death it's a very heavy energy, it's very dark, and it commands a certain amount of respect. So you can't put this thing that wants all and needs all this attention as part of this big group of circle of friends.
Yeah.
You have to give it its own time, its own space. So I suggest giving her own altar if you're working with her. Definitely, if you're doing petitions or magic, don't include her in the mix and all these people come help me out. Just go to her if you want something done with her. Or if you want to do a big group thing, do the group thing. And she's totally cool not being involved in the group. She doesn't take it personally. It's death,
Yeah. She's like, I got my own thing.
Yeah, she's like,
yeah,
that's fine.
She's like, it's okay, I'm going to see you eventually.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we've noticed that working with her, we've done offertory rituals, and she only shows up when she wants to show up, or if she has a message for us.
Yeah.
We'll invite everybody else in, but her like, girl, you okay? But we do something separate for her.
Yeah.
We'll take her outside, smoke a cigarette with her. We'll give her shots of whiskey. She doesn't like red wine, we noticed.
Yeah.
She's more of a hard liquor kind of girl.
Yeah, we've given her offerings of wine, and it won't evaporate. The cup will stay full.
Yeah, she likes whiskey and tequila best, though.
Yeah.
Vodka and rum, she's like, meh, I'll drink it, but you need better drinks, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We noticed that she loves her cigarettes.
She smokes,
Yeah.
she drinks, she curses. A lot of her devotees curse to her, so she's down. She's definitely down. You can be yourself. You don't have to put on airs of respect and titles. It's she knows. She knows you're mortal. You're gonna die. You can't hide anything from her.
Yeah.
So.
What's funny is because when we first got together, when we were giving her cigarettes outside, it started freaking him out because her statue was smoking and the embers would brighten up every time she would puff, and he was like.
I don't see Carolina's doing that. I think you're kind of a health nut too. So. What has been your experience in Phoenix so far? I know we haven't really taken you out.
I haven't seen too much of Phoenix. I've seen, this hotel room. I've seen, the Pagan Pride, which is, is a whole event in itself, and I've seen a couple restaurants. But it's geographically and visually, it's very big and it's very wide and spread out, especially compared to Los Angeles. Because Los Angeles is very spread out too, but a lot of the buildings are taller and everything's kind of more cramped together. Here it's we're in a very central location, downtown-ish, right?
Yeah, we're in north downtown area.
And I wouldn't know, I would think if I was in Los Angeles, I'm in a suburb.
Yeah.
So it's very deceptive that way. Even when we were in downtown, all tall buildings, they weren't smashed up against each other, and it was like one after another to where like they blocked the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
It was still very open, which, you know, going with the fantasy of Arizona, you know, it's the desert, it's very open.
Mm-hmm.
So that lived up to it. What did surprise me was a lot of the people, because I was expecting the people to be very not harsher, but when you come from California, you have a certain expectation again of Arizona. Because Arizona is very much a red state. California is very much a blue state. And it was interesting. It's like, oh, a pagan pride in Arizona, in Phoenix? What? You know. So I thought it'd be this small thing. But no, it was a lot of people showed up, and there's people you wouldn't expect were like completely pagan or completely cool with everything and down to the point of, you know, live your life, do what you gotta do, just, you know, don't get me involved or don't have me. Live and let live, just do it on your own. We're separate. At least that's the image I kind of got.
Almost like going to a relative's house when you're gay. It's like, do what you want, just don't do it in front of me.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. So it was more more than I expected. It was more accepting.
Yeah, surprisingly it is so.
Yeah, I was kind of scared when I first moved here too. I was like, crap, a bunch of John McCain and Trump supporters here.
Yeah.
I didn't really have that issue. I grew up on the reservation, so it's mostly traditionals and Christians. So I kind of grew up with that. You know, you got the spiritual side, and you have the magical side, the religious side and the magical side of things on a regular basis. So, you know, down here I was like, okay, let's do this. So. I don't know if I have any other questions. Unless you do.
Were you scared when we were driving? Because it's practically Mario Kart here.
Not at first. At first, because, you know, when you first picked me up, it was, you know, oh, all the drivers here are crazy. And I thought, you know, drivers are crazy everywhere, you know. Everyone thinks their own city's crazy. Okay. But when we started driving and you see little things, I thought, oh, yeah, that's kind of coincidental. You know, and then everyone I talked to, even at Pagan Pride, everyone had something to say about the traffic here, which was another sign. And then we were driving last night, and I saw more of it, and I was like, yeah, it's noticeably bad that if in the few short days I was here, so many people went out of their way to tell me about it, on top of seeing it multiple times in the few times I have been on the road. So yeah, it's.
Well, you kept seeing cop lights behind us. It wasn't behind us. It was right past us.
Car chase, no. Grand Theft Auto.
But yeah, we were like, yeah, careful driving.
Yeah. You gotta be careful, you're being a pedestrian here.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, people just walk out in the middle of the street. We were, on our way over, we were trying to make a turn, and there's this guy who just like walks out in front of us in front of Starbucks. I'm like, really, dude?
Like that
like
movie,
look
The
both
Happening.
ways?
No,
He
just
just walked out in the middle of the
not even on his phone or anything, just...
He was on a mission. He just got his coffee, so he was like, don't mess with me, fellas.
Apparently.
It's almost as bad as that time that we told you about where the woman was waving a banana at us while doing her makeup while driving and talking on the phone.
Which is quintessential Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like Mario Kart when you're ever driving Phoenix. Anything else that you just want to add?
Not too much that I can think of. I guess in terms of La Santa Muerte, definitely, because a lot of people are really afraid to go to her because she has such like a visceral, very shocking image of like a skeleton. I'd say just try and get in contact with her. Don't force it, but try and get in contact and see how you are, because you might not vibe with her. She might just be like this cool, ethnic, Latino, exotic deity that I really want to get in touch with, which is cool, you know, if that inspires you to get in touch with it, all for it. But see where it is. She might not be your deity because for whatever reason you don't mesh well, at least not right now in your life. So definitely take things slow, see how it is, and...
What would you recommend for a beginner?
What would I recommend for a beginner? I would recommend my book, La Santa
Yes.
Muerte, Unearthing the Magic and Mysticism of Death by Tomás Prower.
Shameless plugging. That's fine. We do
I
it.
can back off that.
Yeah. We actually have a copy. We swear we just keep forgetting it. We've been hanging out with him for the past since Friday, and it's Sunday. We keep forgetting to book it home.
And yes, they are really nice, really good people, as they seem like in the video. So it's all fun. We go on tangents. We talk about different things that sometimes, you know, we're supposed to be like, okay, let's get ready for this. You know, we're talking about other things. Having fun.
I'm bad at that.
So, this is what I would suggest for beginners. And yes, I am biased towards it.
Oh, that glare though.
I know.
I love the artwork on the cover.
That's the thing too. I've had people like just buy the book because of the artwork. Like, oh, the artwork is so amazing.
That'd be cool if you could just get a poster printed of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could somewhere, somehow. I don't know how. But I remember when I went to Pantheacon, they had 2 posters of it.
Let's contact the Wellington
Yeah.
to see if we can get a copy of
It's
that.
kind of like our event. A lot of people went yesterday not even knowing what it was because they saw that he was speaking.
Yeah. So it was a draw for the day.
But other than my book itself, I would definitely say get in contact with whatever pantheon, whatever pantheon of deities you use, whatever culture you use. Get in touch with that deity of death or that underworld deity that they have, because you're already familiar with the tradition, that you can understand death from the concept that you've already been working with. And definitely get in touch with your own mortality, because you can't be friends with death or work magic with death if you deny it on a daily basis. If you think, well, I'm not going to die, that's not going to happen, or that's way further, I never have to think about that because I'm young or healthy or whatever your case may be. If you keep putting death like at arm's length and yet you want to be like best friends with her, that doesn't happen. So you have to accept your mortality and just realize that you don't have forever. People are saving bottles of wine, the fine china, nice clothes, vacations for that special day. And that honestly, that special day might not come. And we don't know, so why not enjoy today? And that's a big thing in the La Santa Muerte practice, is you're constantly working with death. You have death on the brain, not in a negative sense, but you're constantly aware of it. It's not at arm's length, and so you appreciate the living world a lot more because everything is ephemeral. Nothing's going to be here forever, not even us, not anything. So by having that death consciousness and working with our own deities that we're familiar with in our own pantheons, then step into La Santa Muerte and learn her mysteries and try and work with her, because you have that basis of death rather than all these different things coming at you at once. Latino mysticism, La Santa Muerte, death.
Another question, because I've noticed it with other people when I would work with some of them back in New Mexico, when someone was new and starting out working with Santísima Muerte, and they weren't working with the Amparo spells for protection when adjusting to death current and death energy, a lot of times they got a little bit depressed, or sometimes they would actually get sick. Because I've seen it, so I just want your opinion.
I don't know, because I'm ever the skeptic. If something, you gotta prove it to me. My initial reaction to that is, because I've worked in the funeral industry, because people are keeping death and working with death, however way you do it, at such lengths, that when you finally come to terms with death, it's that whole inner existentialism where it's the grief process. It's, am I gonna die? Are my parents gonna die? What's gonna happen to my children? And you have all those questions, all my achievements, what's gonna happen to them? It internalizes when you're working with death. And so all your thinking can get you physically sick. And so working with death has those psychological grief-like implications with it. I would say also on a magical aspect, it probably does have it. I've never had that experience.
Alrighty.
But I'm sure, there are things that cannot be explained, and I wouldn't be surprised if La Santa Muerte would do that.
Yeah.
Because she's that kind of a girl.
Yeah.
She's that kind of a girl.
Yeah, when I started channeling her, or whenever she comes through, I don't have any of those experiences. So, but it's just because I've worked with a lot of, channeling work and stuff like that. So that could be, just like I'm used to that energy, used to that
Right.
vibe. So.
And she's a harsh energy. She's a harsh vibe. So if people, especially they're not used to working with death, they're like dark deities, and suddenly they go straight for death itself, it's kind of, it's a shock to the system.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about people using her statue that's intentionally and made to represent her, but using it to represent another deity? We've seen this actually several times, so you know who you are.
I think it's. I don't suggest it. I don't necessarily approve of it,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much power in iconography, in symbolism,
Mhm.
that if you're using the symbolism of this to work with that, wires get crossed and things don't work as well.
Mhm.
When you're working with death, I would make sure all the wires are in place, because you've got to be careful. But I've seen it happen, and I think, could it work? Could it? Yeah, it probably could work, but I wouldn't suggest it because it won't go how as you would intend it to be.
I think of it like you give someone a gift, which would be the statue, the icon,
Mhm.
and then you take it and give it to someone else from them.
Yeah.
As like just more like a social faux pas, being rude kind of thing too.
Yeah.
How much time do we have left?
Actually, we don't have much time left. We got to get him to the airport. It is 10:23 right now.
That's right, and now we're all be in the air.
All right.
Yep.
Thank
So-
you for coming down.
No, thank you for inviting me, all this, being on your show.
Yay.
Yay.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
No, it was a pleasure.
Book him. He's really good at what he does.
He's got the totem broom stamp.
Yes.
You can pat it all.
And if you're an author and interested and you're watching this, let us know. We'll see what we can do to get you out here.
Yes, and I'm Tomás Prower, author of Muerte, Unearthing the Magic and Mysticism of Death, here in Phoenix with these two wonderful people. And thank you for watching this in your time, for seeing this and taking 30 minutes out of your day to see me.
So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, and we'll do a video soon and talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye. That was cute.